remodeling your homes, your kitchens, your bathrooms. And in today's video, this is part of a kitchen remodeling project we're doing. So today we're going to show you here how to install a kitchen faucet. Now this is a Moen Noell that my friend Ernie, who owns the house here, this is what he chose. So we're going to install this today and show you how it's done. And this is pretty representative of how you do most of the kitchen faucets. So let's get right to it. Okay, so this is what the Moen Noell looks like here. So it is a single center here, and what we have here is, instead of the integral pull down type sprayer, the sprayer is going to be off to the right side here. So this Moen faucet here just comes as a tall faucet here with a separate sprayer off to the right. It does not have a pull down sprayer. This particular owner does not like the pull down sprayers. A lot of people don't like them. They think they jam all the time. I think if you install it right, and if you put the weight in the correct place and you don't jam stuff under your kitchen sink, you won't have any problems with it because it will float freely in the back there. But we're going to have a separate sprayer off to the right here. Alright, so as we take a look inside here, here we have the sprayer unit here. And there's two ways that you can optionally mount this faucet. Okay, so we're going to do this here as a single mount, like this. Now let's say you have 3 holes going across the back of your sink. You would put this here like this, and it would cover the holes, but you would still have the faucet just using the one middle hole there. So that's a way that you could cover it. So most kitchen faucets come with this type of installation option. We just had the granite guys here a few minutes ago. They just left, so that's why we're installing the sink now. So this was all custom for us. They drilled this hole here for us for the center, for the faucet, and then they drilled this hole here for the separate sprayer, because the sprayer is going to go right here like this, and there's a plastic nut that comes up from the bottom that secures this, and then the sprayer hose goes through there. Okay, now what I like about this particular faucet here is that it comes integral with both your hot and cold steel belted hoses here. Pretty good and long, so you probably won't have to buy any additional hoses. So that's good, because that can save you probably $30 or less having to go out and buy 2 hoses and then guessing the size wrong, because there's 12-inch hoses, 16, 20-inch, and there's been a few times in the past where we guess wrong, but this one's already built in and ready to go. Okay, you want to make sure you have all of the pieces that come with this. Now this bracket right here is what secures this faucet over here to the underside of the cabinet. So once this big threaded post here goes through that hole and pops out the bottom of your sink here, and we'll show you all this in a minute, but you'll need this bracket, this is the mounting bracket here, to go under it and secure it to the bottom of the sink or the counter. And then this is the mounting nut here. So that mounting nut there secures it, it threads onto that pipe right here, and it secures that also with the mounting bracket. And then they provide with you this wrench, and you never want to throw this wrench out, because if you ever have to remove this faucet for any reason, this wrench is what allows it to reach up. The wrench goes all the way through the hose and up here, and it allows you to screw the nut all the way in up to the underside of the counter. So you don't throw this out. If you do, you can get them off eBay. They sell them on eBay. They're usually about $12. Okay, so the very first thing you do is you come over here to where the faucet hole is, and you put that gasket there, flat side down against the counter. Okay, so now we just start to feed the hoses in. There's the hot and the cold, and then there's the center one, and then the connector. They all go in. Go. Okay, now you don't have to worry about the final position or anything just yet, because it's not tightened down here. So when you're installing a faucet like this, it's always a good idea to have a buddy, because it works so much easier when you can have somebody hold this for you up top nice and steady while you're down underneath there and tightening all of the brackets and the mounting nuts from underneath. Okay, now if you're working alone, I usually like to put the box across the sink like that, so if the faucet should topple over or forward, which is usually the direction it will topple in, it will hit the box and not fall into the sink or scratch the surface up here. You can even put a huge piece of cardboard down or a big mover's cloth whatever you want. You just want to protect the area. Okay, now when we go to install this bracket, it's important to remember that it has to face the back like that. See that? So the rounded part is going to be towards the front of this, and the horseshoe shape kind of points towards the back wall. Okay, so we take the bracket and we stick it here onto the middle. It has to thread through this middle hose, the short one, right? And go all the way up, and it's going to go up and around that threaded tube up there. And then we have to take the nut. The nut chases it up there. It goes right up behind it and goes all the way up through there and screws it on to the tube. Okay, so here we are here. You can see the plate all the way up against the top there. There's the mounting plate, and here's the mounting nut. See that? So we're just slowly turning the mounting nut here. Okay. So now we take the pipe wrench here and we stick it all the way up in there. See how it goes around the nut? And you just start spinning it and spinning it until you get it all the way to the end there. Okay, now you take the wrench off there. You can see how it's... We don't tighten it all the way yet because we need to go back up top. And we need to make sure that everything's fully aligned up there properly. Okay, so now when we come up top, that's when you want to make sure it's seated absolutely perfectly on that little plastic gasket there, and that it's faced in the correct direction that you want it to be in, so that you don't see it at a noticeable slant. Like, you don't want it to be like that, unless that's really what you want. You want it to be where this line here is parallel with the sink. Okay, so now Moen tells you to get a pair of pliers, or you can also use channel locks here, but you take this thing and you just start tightening that nut up there real good. Don't just do it by hand, because you won't have enough strength to make it tight enough, snug enough to secure it to the bottom of the counter there and have it be nice and tight and not move. Now that's what it's supposed to look like once you have the nut tightened down to the mounting bracket there. So they'll often show you a standard looking nut like this, which would actually be better if they had this, because then I could tighten it with my rigid wrench. Okay, so back up top, it's like rock solid. So we tighten that thing really good. It's not moving. And that's the way it should be. Okay, so see this little black part here? It looks like a nut. This is the hose protector. So we're going to thread this onto that same orange threaded pipe there. And what this will do is it will keep the hoses from bumping into it. It'll kind of keep them separated so they won't rub up against it and get worn down. Okay, so this is the entry point here for the sprayer. So now what we're going to do with this is it goes right through the hole here. Make sure that black gasket is on there. And just set it down into place. Okay, so this is the mounting nut. So this is going to go from the underside of the sink counter there underneath the granite and screw to it from the upside. And screw it down and secure it to the counter from underneath. So you just tighten it down to the bottom of the counter. Okay, now you feed the hose for the sprayer down in there. Okay, now this is the diverter, and if you look carefully here, right where my thumb is pointing there, there's a little arrow pointing to the right and it says spout. So this is where the main spout hose gets connected, okay? And then on the left side here is where we connect the sprayer hose. So it's kind of strange that they suggest that the sprayer is mounted off to the right there like that, but then underneath the counter here, they make you go all the way around and over to the left side of it to plug that hose in. Also, don't forget to remove the plastic protector thing here. Okay, so we pull the protection off of the main also, and we're going to plug it in here till you hear it click. So you hear that click there? Then you give it a tug. It's on there nice and snug. Alright, now I try to straighten out the sprayer hose, and we're going to plug it into the other side here on the left side of it. And you hear it click. Give it a good test, make sure it's in there solid. Okay, so now we take this part here and connect them to there. Okay, so you heard it click. Give it a good tug. Okay, so now we're going to connect our two water supply lines. So the hot water is going to connect here, and the cold water supply line is going to connect up here. Okay, so there's the hot one. There's the hot water, tightened down here. So you can see what I do is I like to just kind of do a little spiral there and keep it up and out of the way, so it doesn't get tangled with all of the other items that the owners will put under the kitchen sink here. Now the cold water gets tightened in here. Okay, now to finish off the tightening of these, I always love to use my rigid one-stop wrench. This is a great tool. This is probably one of my favorite tools in the whole collection, because it really is, I'll show you here, two tools in one. So the smaller wrench unscrews from the bigger wrench, see? And they're pre-sized here. So I'll show you here. The smaller wrench is usually used to tighten, it's already pre-sized to tighten all of these types. And pretty much I'm only going to go about a half a turn past tighten. These are compression and there's gaskets in there, so you don't need to go that far. Just nice and snug. If you have a leak, you can tighten it further, but you're not going to have a leak. Now, same over here with the hot water side. So that's what I like about these. I don't have to play with adjustable wrenches. I just know that I take the smaller of my two wrenches here and I go ahead and I tighten the nut with it. Now the bigger wrench here is used on the back here on the valve for the compression nut when you're installing the valve onto the pipe. And we have another video on that. I'll put a link to that down in the description as well. We'll also put links we will also put links in the description for all of these tools that we use here for you. Okay, now many faucet manufacturers will give you a sticker like this with your model number and serial number and all that. And it's usually a good idea to tape it to like one of the hoses here or somewhere where it's conspicuous. And there we go. So now if you ever wonder what's your model number and what type of faucet do you have, there it is right there. That way, if you ever lose this guy and you're supposed to store him somewhere, you can tape him up into the back, put him in a drawer somewhere, put a label on him saying what he is so you know exactly what this guy is. Because if you ever have to undo this faucet for whatever reason, you will need this tool. There's no other tool that will work on that. Okay, so we turn on the hot water and then come over here and turn on the cold water. Okay, but I'm going to say it till I'm blue in the face, folks. Do not throw out this tool, because you'll not be able to ever in the future remove that faucet without having that tool, or one exactly like it. Okay, so now we tighten the aerator back on, and let's test it. And you want to test hot and cold water as well. Now we test out the sprayer. Working good. See how that diverter that we connected up earlier, that's what controls this action here. Okay, so because we're putting in a new dishwasher, we just installed a new garbage disposal and new P-trap and piping. We're going to do a full test here where we load up the sink to the top here with hot water, because hot water will make all the plastic parts expand and get them accustomed to each other here. And then we'll just release the whole thing at once and see how the waistline system here handles it. Oh, that's hot. Oh, hot. Okay, so we're doing fine down below. There's no leaks or anything. I usually like to put a few sheets of paper towel down there and make sure that there's no leaks. They'll show up right away. And also, just leave this here overnight, and that way if there's a problem with the trap seal, which is right here, see this nut right back here? That's the one where the water, there's always water in this P-trap right along here, right? So sometimes they'll seep out in the middle of the night there. After a few hours, water can seep out of there if you didn't do a good job tightening that. So that's another reason why you want to monitor this overnight. Anytime you do an install, come back and check it for, you know, several days and just make sure that you don't have a leak. Because all it takes is a few drops to start and blip, blip, blip. And over time it'll start rotting down through that wood. And if you have particle board, forget about it. It's just going to crumble. Okay, now here's something optional you can do. What I like to do is I take some clear 100% silicone and I still like to go around the bottom of the faucet here. Even though you have that little plastic washer down there, I still think water can get in, and I don't take chances. I just put a little thin bead of it going all the way around here. Well, I hope you found this video useful, and if you did, hey, go ahead and give us a thumbs up down below. That lets us know that you like us. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, hey, why not? Make sure you click on that subscribe button down below. And then when you click on that little bell icon, make sure that you select that you want to receive all alerts from this channel. That way you'll know every time we upload a video. Well, that's it for this week, folks. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.